Hello and welcome back to another Final Fantasy XIV video. Today we're taking a delve into the Doman Enclave to explore some of the various inspirations and sights to see in the fully restored state of the Doman Enclave. This is a location that you unlock post Stormblood and involves a lot of repairal of the war-torn people of Doman as they find and settle on a new place and new light. When we go through here, you'll notice that they tend to pull inspiration from a lot of different time periods for the Doman Enclave, as well as many areas within Ovard as a whole for East Asian cultures, and not necessarily sticking to just one, which ends up giving it a more unique tone to how we see it versus what you would see in other games commonly. And this is also reflective of real world, as cultures tend to steal a lot from each other. Japan is no stranger of that when it comes to taking in other cultures they find appealing and adapting them in their own fashion. So let's go take a look at just a few of those things. As we cross the seas and reach the piers, we are immediately greeted by this rather interesting boat that seems to be inspired by various Edo period boats of Japan. It seems to have a striking resemblance to a Marukabune, but lacks the cabin space that would normally be on these, and is on a much smaller scale. The most standout thing once you finish building the Doman Enclave is the Watchtower, which at first glance you might think it's a lighthouse, but if you look to the pier edge, you'll notice there isn't much really reason to have a lighthouse in this location, as there's no real sense of danger or urgency that a large ship may crash into when approaching the shores of the Doman Enclave, despite having a frontal-style lens that you often see in lighthouses. This structure is now instead being used to watch over the One River in case of underwater attacks like the ones of the Red Kojin. Over near the entrance, we can see some people participating in the Japanese tradition of Washi, which is a Japanese paper-making process. Washi has many uses for its application for products, from origami to ukiyo-e, which if you watched my Kunitsugami video, you would know a little more about that, as well as other various ritual objects throughout Shinto. But here we can see them using it for another very common practice, and that is for making paper lanterns, which ends up becoming a commodity for the Doman Enclave. This traditional method of paper making is not one I would recommend you participate in yourself, as it's very heavy manual labor, starting with breaking down various bark fibers and then slowly beating them to a pulp. The section you see here with these large bamboo trays is them in one of the more farther steps of paper making, where they comb over them to check for imperfections and ensure that there's nothing that will interfere with the final product's results, such as fibers that were not fully processed or little specks of dirt, various things like that. And after they end up cleaning it, it will end up being raised where it will be allowed to fully dry and become the final product. And that final product for the Doman Enclave is mostly going to be in paper lanterns, which we can see them next door crafting and decorating various paper lanterns. All the artisans they have here are quite skilled in their job sets. It's fairly impressive how many people came together to build the Doman Enclave. Here is another small detail, and one I'm not entirely sure on what it is, as I've seen this in various pop culture, these small little satchels hanging on the sides of doors, which you can also see in more European style medieval times media as well. My assumption is that it could be serving as some sort of mailbox, as this often is how it's depicted by people leaving various things in there for the homeowner to later obtain. But I couldn't find the exact wording for what exactly they would call this. Considering it spans multiple cultures, even cross-continent, it would be very strange if there wasn't a solid naming convention for what this is. Over here near the shop as well, we can see more various paper art that has been made. One being this very funny bomb in the middle here, as well as various pinwheels. This little shop here offers a bunch of rewards to the player once they fully restore the Doman Enclave. And many of these are not tradable, so it can be quite a gill sink if you're new to the game. We're going to briefly stop by the Schoolhouse, where you can see a rather fleshed out little schoolroom. One detail I thought was really cute is they reused the toy box that you can see in the inn over here as a little place where the kids can play with their toys. We even get a little playground off in the distant corner that you can go check out. And if you come up here during a certain time period, they are scheduled to play on the playground. A nice little detail. And some of these playground parts can even be found in Gardania of all places. Here we can see Kienkan. This manor was gifted to Lord Hien by his people as a celebration for his return. Its aforementioned name meaning the Swallow's Homecoming, which is quite an elegant choice. The chamber we can enter here is rather simple, so I didn't find much reason to go replay New Game Plus, but it is something you can do if you would like to revisit it. Heading over to the Enclave Barracks. If you come here during certain times, you can find one of the guards walking around with hyoshigis, or clapper sticks. These had various uses, from announcing things that one would expect, or given how infrequent this occurs if you wait around. It could be them using it to announce a curfew. I suspect though that this is the more traditional use, given our location and the one wielding them. It could be a warning for potential fires, as this is something that would happen back in the day, where people would walk around with these sticks, clapping them together and saying the phrase Hino Yojin, or watch out for fires. A really cool little detail that if you just never show up at the right time, you'll never see this, which I find very exciting, that the devs are willing to just make sure you don't see something. Something about those little secrets that can be all your own is quite something. Going back into the Enclave Barracks, we can see various guards practicing with man catchers, these sticks with a horseshoe shape at the end. These were used in various time periods and various cultures as well to help detain people who are getting a little rowdy, for a better lack of words. Though while these ones look very simple and wood, there are some that are quite dangerous looking and have many spikes all over them. You can imagine that some guards are less dainty with these and more looking to harm the person they're trying to capture. Though even nowadays, you can still find people in various East Asian cultures still using man catchers as a tool, because it is just that efficient of a weapon for detaining a person. Given how many cultures they are pulling from for the Doman Enclave, I was surprised we didn't see any umibos on display here, as there are models for it all the way back since A Realm Reborn. I think that would have been a nice fit for this location, but we more or less just get simpler bows. Now for our final destination, the Enclave Demesne, the farm fields and various crops and tools that they use. In various descriptions and talking to some of the people around here as well, you will learn that a large portion of these fields is dedicated to specifically rice as an export for the Doman Enclave. If you went back in this area and passed by these bamboo racks, you might have wondered what exactly they're for. Well, these are a more traditional way of preparing rice, as they would hang them on these to dry out for further process. It's cool to see a rather large throwback as to a method for dealing with crops. You can even see some of the farmhands using hand scythes to harvest the rice as well. It would have been nice if maybe one of the bamboo racks here had some rice already hanging on it so you could see the different steps they go through, but it's still nice that they included them at all over here for us just to see. Also, look at this on my Zaiku. It's very cute, and they put it on the well for some reason. I don't know why it's over here. Anyway, moving on. Over here, we have a Waterwheel Mill that is grounding up and pounding the rice to enter one of its final states of processing. They spent a lot of time on animating this Waterwheel Mill to quite a lot of detail and did a fairly accurate job of how it functions. You can see as the water wheel spins, it lifts the center pillar, causing the other pillars underneath where these cement bowls are, and inside these cement bowls is the rice that's getting pounded into a fine grain. With all this as well, they even gave a source for where the water is coming from. You can see this little stream pillowing out of the cliffside as if there's a natural spring somewhere farther down that we cannot see. And even with them doing this, they are still using the water as they're redirecting the water after the water wheel to go into all the crops in the fields. Just a very well thought out design. It makes me wonder if they were inspired by a real life farm somewhere when doing this. Thank you for coming on this little tour of the Doman Enclave with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Up here, another video. Down here, another video. Thank you to my members, and thank you for watching. Bye!